All right.
Yeah, people keep talking about, or people are currently talking about R. Kelly and his
Mm-hmm.
trespasses, violations, accusations, and
Yeah.
okay.
No, no, I didn't want to cut you. I didn't know you would finish. I mean,
No, I mean
interesting dialogue.
yeah, no, it's. I'm glad that it's brought up. What is brought up in regards to children being violated and the need to protect the babies,
Mm-hmm.
but the focus on this particular celebrity as though this is not an ongoing dilemma, you
I know
know,
it's a huge dilemma.
super,
Uh, yeah, I think.
super
I mean,
huge.
like he's not the first like child molester or first guy who likes younger women. You know, that are below the age, and just in my dating history, if I think about the women I've dated, I mean, it's probably 70% of them have been touched between the age of like 11 and 13.
Mm.
So, and that's just dealing with women, and we're not even talking about young men who aren't going to talk about it at all, and or don't think that it's molestation because it was a woman, you know.
Hmm.
So, like when you talk about that, like children are being touched, like period. You know what I'm saying? And there's been a history of it. There's been a history of us just kind of looking the other way. Um,
Yes.
So it's like, yeah, it's good that it's being talked about, but it's also kind of like, I know there's different angles that people take when they're dealing with the conversation, but, I always just look at it like, from the viewpoint of high school. High school, ninth graders were dating seniors or college dudes, like, it's just not one area, you know what I'm saying? But like the dialogue needs to be have that children are getting touched, and therefore it's just causing the cycle.
Yeah. Well, what are some of those angles you've heard? You said you heard several angles. What were
Well,
some of
you
those?
got the angle that it's a money grab. You got the angles that the young women are fast. You got that this has been going on. It ain't nothing new. You got the angle that this is a sex ring, and he didn't do it by himself. Like
Mm.
it takes a lot of manpower and coordination to be like just doing this for 40 years. You know what I'm saying? And those type of discussions takes away from the discussion of like, yo, this dude's a predator, and he's been a predator because when he called himself the Pied Piper, it was just like, yo, that's so fucking offensive. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Hmm.
it's so ridiculous that if anybody knows anything about fairy tales, and like that story is about, a dude luring the children out of a town, and those kids they're disappearing and never been seen again,
Mm.
with music. So the fact that you are a musical legend, a genius, and you're calling yourself the Pied Piper
And
is
wearing a
just like
mask.
and wearing the mask, and it's just a slap in the face. Like, you're not gonna do shit to me. I'm gonna tell you who I am, and buy my next song, my next album, and come to my shows.
Hmm.
So that's sicko, but like that's part of that. What the Me Too movement, the Time's Up movement, those type of things, have been trying to highlight, which is like this power,
Hmm.
that allows people to do things that they shouldn't be allowed to do. Um, but I mean, the topic in general is just like there's so many ways you can go with it. Like we can discuss it for hours, because if you're talking about is it a money grab, that is a conversation that needs to be had, because um how do you get access to 14 and 15-year-old girls? And I know you can get access to them, don't get me wrong, but continual access, like, so then you do have to ask the question, where was the parents at it? What did they know? Did they get paid off? Like, was it acceptable to them, right? And if it was the case, then just like everybody wants R. Kelly under the jail, which he should be, right? Then those parents need to be there too as well. But I don't want anybody to take away from the fact of what R. Kelly did, though, to talk about the subject. Like, we need to stay firm. Like, no, that's ridiculous. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But go ahead.
And if we go back to the school age dealings, that was like a known. Like you went from high school, from ninth graders to 12th in college. But I can think of two examples.
Okay.
One where a ninth grader was with like a 30-year-old, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So that'll put her at 14 with a 30-year-old.
Yeah.
And another example would be a 12th grader with an 8th grader, and then like a 10th grader with middle school. So that could have been 7th or even 6th, right? Mm-hmm. And we frowned upon that. It wasn't like, oh yeah, you going to you going to elementary, you going back, you rolling by the middle school to pick up your girl, like But it was done like it was heard of, but it wasn't like bragged about. So it's almost like these were young Pied Pipers in the making. Even like they knew that they were out of pocket. You know what I'm saying? To some degree. I'm not saying that there weren't those that were just out there brazen with it. But when I think back, these cats kind of, like you would see the quote unquote thick younger girl child, you know what I'm saying, for what she was. Like, damn, she only in 6th grade. Okay. You know what I'm saying? But if you weren't in 6th grade or 7th grade, that was like you went down a grade. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But typically, the what you wanted was to go up a grade, like you know what I'm saying? Because your age group typically didn't deal with you as like a known, right?
Yeah. That's what I was bringing up. Like when I was a freshman, it wasn't the best, finest freshman girls were definitely not talking to the freshman dudes. They was talking to the juniors, seniors.
Yeah.
They was talking to them dudes, the dudes with the cars.
And then the reasoning is that basically their age group was immature. I mean, you still hear that reasoning in your 20s, 30s, and 40s. Like,
yeah, I think that's ridiculous reasoning. That might be a different conversation.
No, I mean it's this conversation because if you're saying I'm not enough, you know what I'm saying, as your peer. And then you have to instigate, and you are flattered by somebody 18 or over, and you're under 18 talking to you, you know what I'm saying, dating you, or whatever. Like, then that's the other side that I've been hearing is it's on the girls. You see what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, and I've heard that before too. I've heard young women say, "Oh, I like older men." I'm not attracted to men my age group. I've heard that my whole entire life. I have heard it, and I just always thought it was ridiculous. Like, what? Like, because I don't equate maturity with age. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've met just ignorant, stupid, immature people at 40. You know what I'm saying? I've met them at 60 and 70. You know what I'm saying? Like, damn, like experience ain't got you nowhere yet. But that is something that has been said. I think that comes up. I don't know what era it was. I don't know if it was like right after, women started kind of getting their feelings hurt when the love thing wasn't working, and they said, "Oh, you shouldn't just give it away for free. So you need to get something out of it. You shouldn't date a dude who can't do nothing for you." And that kind of goes to that older dude as well. You know what I'm saying? Like,
when you bring capitalism into your personal life, then obviously, what can I get for this? I'm doing you a service. I need to be compensated.
Right.
My question.
So, like,
go ahead. My question is one of consent. Like, I think that's an underdeveloped topic, and we lack that understanding. At what age are people considered eligible to give consent in a sexual manner? Like, aside from the law itself, because I know that varies from state to state and there's stipulations. But like, where and how does consent play in? Because if you have a particular percentage of girl children that feel, oh, I'm mature enough to have an 18-year-old, although I'm 14. I'm mature enough to get a sophomore in college. You see what I'm saying? Because, where my head is at and the things I like to do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no.
Is that consensual? I know that it falls under statutory rape
Yeah,
in most states, but she's clearly a willing participant in this activity, right? This is her boyfriend.
right. I personally, I'm not a fan of the statutory rape thing. I don't think you should call anything rape that was consensual. Personally, I know that they had to put an age range on it at some point, but I gotta tell people, this age of consent thing, this thinking that, sleeping with a 15-year-old is nasty or is immoral or is new, cause it's a new concept. It's probably in the last 60, 70 years, maybe, if that, that this has been like a thing. Because before this, we had people getting married as soon as they were, having puberty, you know what I'm saying? And people will say, oh, well, it was wrong regardless. Like, no, that's
Yeah,
all
they would
history.
accuse that's the patriarchy. That's what's actually being challenged ultimately by some feminists at this point, or if
Right.
not all feminists.
But what I always say is that having grown up with sisters, having nieces, having played nieces, having friends, right? When people get around at 14 and 15, this is boys and girls, and sometimes now earlier, they are hard to deal with. And it just speaks to like this prolonged adolescence that we have in this country, particularly, that we have people that are in this kind of purgatory, this gray area. They're moving like they're adults, but they have this cloak of protection like they're children. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
They do a lot of adult actions. It's like the time period of don't do it because I said so as your parent, it fades away around about 14, 15. That's when people start feeling themselves, smelling themselves. And so that is the time when they start experimenting with sex and drugs and whatever else. And regardless of what law says, like, oh, we think they're mature at this age. Maturity, like I said, maturity is it's just a murky thing because when somebody who's, let's say, 19 is a college football athlete and he does something stupid, he's just a child. You know what I'm saying? But if that same person commits a murder, we're going to try them as an adult. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
If a young girl gets pregnant, right, at 15, 14, 15, legally she can't make medical decisions for herself, but she has that child, she can make medical decisions for the child. So it's like even how we view maturity doesn't make sense. Like she's responsible enough to take care of a whole human life, but she wasn't responsible enough to figure out what she wanted to do with her vagina. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Like, so that's ridiculous. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the adolescence phase is a relatively new concept. So that's what you're speaking of.
Yes.
Throughout antiquity, you have you're a child. You go through a rites of passage, typically around puberty. You learn how to be a husband. You learn how to be a wife. You learn your role in the community, the village, the
Yeah.
town, and then you get married and start producing.
Yeah.
Start being
You get cracking.
constructive.
Yeah.
Instead, now there's this modern phase of adolescence, which is this range between,
Up to
11,
26.
12 to 18. I mean,
Yeah. It's going to, if you
I
really
mean,
look
if you're
at it,
talking about legal, you're considered a legal
I'm
adult at
saying
18 and
legally,
21.
think about legally, if your child goes to college, you're still paying child support. Like your children can stay on your insurance until 26. And I'm sure people are
Mm-hmm.
thankful for that. But what I'm saying is that it's just kind of this, oh, let's stretch it out longer. And I don't know if that's because our lifespans are getting longer. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you
But when
always
you
have to
go,
say who benefits from this. Yeah.
yeah, who benefits from it? But even if you're saying from 11 to 18, if you, like people used to have jobs and trades at 14. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah.
Like, so then when you say,
You
oh,
used
they're
to
not mature,
join armies and
yeah,
fight
so
wars. Yeah.
yeah, so when you say that they're not mature, it's like, no, that's not true. You know what I'm saying? Like
So
I said,
you're
that's
you're
still a new
saying this
concept.
dominant culture is putting in they're injecting this troublesome group like this in between an adult, in between a child.
Yeah, they're the worst group there is, and every generation hates that group of people so far. Like nobody can stand that group of people.
Mm.
Like because it comes with this, um, like you're still telling somebody technically who's grown what to do, and they're bucking. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But they're allowed to buck because they're still children. Like, how is another human, like, that's this child's, who is considered a child, but they're not no child, is having sex, doing what they want to do, and then you as a parent is responsible for that person's actions. Like that.
Yeah, their job is still going to school and getting grades while they're playing house in the literal sense. Like they literally are at your house, fucking on your bed, parent, drinking your liquor. Like,
drinking your liquor, stealing your car while you sleep from a hard day at work. You know, just doing stupid shit that falls
doing
back on
adolescent things versus being a responsible adult, since you obviously got adult behaviors. You know what I'm saying? If you're smoking, drinking, fucking, then you should also be working and considering marriage and other things that's considered a stable, constructive, productive civilian.
Right, but because we try to keep people in this bubble of adolescence and childhood, and the thing is that everybody's not getting kept in the same bubble either, based off of economics, based off of how your household is set up. Like, you're not even in the same bubble, you know. And as soon as you go out into the real world, it's chaos and anarchy. So the whole majority of the consent thing to me is like, yo, somebody consents. I don't consider it rape. I know they decided to put an age at some point on it. But even all the states don't agree with the correct age. You know, Georgia's 16. I think Cali's 18. Some states are 17.
But even with that consent, I don't think it's consent to have sex with an adult. I think it's consent with a peer. Like, I'm almost certain that gray area is in there as well, which a lot of people don't speak on. They think that consent, when it's written like that, is she can just decide to have sex with whoever. But I think it's actually still under 21.
No, it's 16 is the age of consent is 16. Like, you're not gonna get a charge for sleeping with a 16-year-old. I don't advise it, but you're not gonna get charged like for that. Like, no, because the age of consent is 16. You know what I'm saying?
Interesting.
So she's legally able to give her consent to do that like that. Now, with that being said, here's the thing. I have a problem with all of it because, and this is why we talk about those other angles, the people who are with these 16-year-olds, 15-year-olds, whoever, right? Because you didn't get to the concert by yourself. You know what I'm saying? You didn't get to you didn't get to these places by yourself, right? Some adult facilitated this. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. In most cases. And I've talked to people who are just turning 19, right? And they're like, oh, I'm tired of the club, right? I've heard it often. I'm burnt out on that. Like, that's dead. And it's like, you're 19. Like, why are you even in the club? You know what I'm saying? And I know they had like teen clubs, but they're not talking about teen clubs. Like, they're like, I've been going to the club since I was 15. You know what I'm saying? I just go with my cousins and my older aunt. You know what I'm saying? And I would just use one of their IDs and I was in the club. You know what I'm saying?
Well, let's break up some of these parents. Oh, finish your thought. I'm sorry.
Well, the thought was that, like, those type of situation is like, they've been, like you said, they've still been acting grown. They've been playing the adult. So I think that does always need to be taken into consideration, but everybody's going to always say, hey, you know what the law is and you shouldn't break it. You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is. But go ahead.
So with parents, you have different classes of parents. Just so we don't, lose focus. You got some parents that don't give a fuck. Like, you were a mistake and I'm stuck with you, right? So that's that's just like, shit. Here's some
raise yourself.
And then you got overbearing parents, and you got religious parents, and you got just working parents that may care but literally got 2 or 3 jobs and can't necessarily be there. And then you got parents that are kind of lightweight, like soliciting you. You know what I'm saying? For whatever. You know what I mean? Just got you in a space where I'm gonna make this work for me. Like there's a way we can make money, whether it's through entertainment, whether it's through some form of prostitution or some type of exploitation, right? So it's hard to I know it's necessary, but it's hard to say where a parent's head was at, you know what I'm saying, without details of each case. Now, what I am familiar with is that the women that would bring home a man, because a major predator, a high percentage predator, is the friend of the family. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like he's right if he's neck and neck with the uncle. You know what I'm saying? But the friend of the family is I would loosely say, with my experience and women recounting their traumas and their violations, it's like, I guess he was my mama's boyfriend. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So for love or convenience or economics, she has a grown man, a grown man who given access, you know what I'm saying, to her children. In this case, we're just calling teenagers children, right? We're gonna just, go with the legal, definition for under 18, right? So so there's no consent that can be given in this situation, based off of the grown up is supposed to have the ethic, and that's what we need to talk about. Why is there no universal ethic? Like, if this is what we're supposed to be going off of, this gauge that he should know that this is a violation, regardless if the young teenage child is flirting or, soliciting or offering herself. You see what I'm saying? Like, I just think that there's some gray area in there, but ultimately to bring for a parent to bring a man around, her children, I just don't know if that's advisable at this point. Just statistically speaking, the people that get violated, it's just not wise. So now you have a teenager around a boyfriend or male of the family, I just feel like preemptively they shouldn't be left alone, regardless if it's a good dude or whatnot. Just statistically, if men are the majority violator, it's just not wise. You know what I'm saying? To grant access, you know what I'm saying, to friends of the family, to teenagers or children at this point.
I agree with that.
And you see it happening, and then you'll see the denial. Okay, well, I told my mother, she didn't believe me, yada yada. That's the other part, is the parent that is gonna turn a blind eye to obvious violations or confessions. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I mean, but that's another problem in itself, like family business, or why is this violator still allowed in the family? Like, oh, just don't let Uncle so and so be around the kids by himself, and let's keep it moving. Like,
versus actually pressing charges against the violator.
Yeah, getting rid of him. Even if not getting rid of him, taking measures. Like, like, how's this person just chilling at family dinner at Thanksgiving? And it sucks that, like, men are the violators, but then, like I said, I don't think that the young boys are talking about that violator. It's talked about in a ego type of, I lost my virginity at 11 thing, same story, but it's said with a sense of pride. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh yeah, the babysitter got me, and my mama's friend took my virginity, and it's like, at 11, homie, like, you've been violated and you've been molested. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And that's not talked about. So we don't even have the numbers of males that's been molested. So then these same males are going and doing the same thing. Like, well, what's their mindset? Like, how's that, like, translating? If you lost your virginity at 11, how do you think that there's anything wrong with touching somebody else? You know what I'm saying? At a younger age. Like, now it become a norm. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, I think that's not addressed. Like, we see it with teachers. Like, we're seeing teachers getting arrested left and right, and you got male teachers doing it, and you have a slew of female teachers, like, sleeping with 14-year-old, in middle school, and freshman type boys. You got these male teachers having relationships with these teenagers. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's consistently happening. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so it makes me wonder, right, if we got it right. Like, if we chose the right age number, if we got any of this right, like, but now, traditions, right? We have, like, the quote unquote patriarchal traditions and marrying people off. And it's not to say that that's the best tradition, but did we put anything in place for it before we got rid of it or try to dismantle it? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think I think
right?
religions as well, like to put in there as far as what's maintaining. Yeah. But let me just try and bring just a little structure, because this is obviously a complex,
conversation.
Yeah, it's definitely. But I wanted to just to deal with the different types of teenagers just briefly. Okay. So if you have a teenager that's actually just trying to be a teenager in the way that adolescence is described, right, as like a pre-adult, like kind of get your head together, take this time to actually learn, get your lessons in order, and get ready and to go to college, and you see what I'm saying, get whatever that adolescence is described as being necessary for, right?
Okay.
You have this this teenager that's doing what they're supposed to be doing. Not overly sexual, not over, may have a girlfriend, may have a boyfriend, but it's not just, it's not over sexualized. It's just, it's just being social. You know what I mean? They're handling business, may have a little job, and you see what I mean? Just kind of more or less drug free, not no big partier, just handling business. And then you got the delinquent, which is doing everything they're not supposed to do. You know what I'm saying? And then you have somebody in between. So let's just say these are the three quick walks. Okay. To say who's being violated and who isn't being violated, again, I think would come down ultimately to consent as well as circumstance, right? What is the circumstance it is? Because if I'm being seduced in my own household, then even if I'm the good teenager, being seduced by an older person is being seduced by an older person. Like that's a possibility just based off of experience, and the possibility of manipulating me is just it's high. It's not because I'm dumb or I'm looking for something devious to get into. It's just they shouldn't have access to me to manipulate me. You see what I'm saying? Right. So even if I'm the good teenager, this is a possibility that I run into. If this is in my household, I run into this problem of being manipulated and violated. So then you have the delinquent, which is accused of asking for it, right? So the consent situation becomes comes into question if you have a delinquent teenager that all they want to do is like grown social things. They don't want to do real grown things like get a career and work 60 hours. They just want to, they want to play. They want to do grown
party. They want to party, smoke, drink, and go out and do things that they think makes them an adult, but none of the.
And they recognize the power in their sex, because that's another thing. Some people recognize younger than others the strength of sex and the sexual energy. So whether they're manipulating the adult in this situation, just say that they're putting signals out there and playing games, and so on and so forth. That particular violator, if he was to access the young person, is still considered a violator. Even with the gray area, he's still considered a violator because he should have known better. Is what I always hear.
Yeah, no, but that's kind of a general statement with men in general. Anytime we do something, we should have known better. Just to let you know.
Okay,
we should have known better.
That's a double standard that you've noticed. Okay,
it's a double standard, but that is the answer. He should have known better. He should have removed himself from the situation. X, Y, Z. You know what I'm saying? But those situations can be hella manipulative. But go ahead, keep going with your thought.
I mean, that's I just wanted to try and put some frame to it, because we got if we put the adult, the parent that may introduce the friend of the family to the family, that he or she may be the parent that works all the time. He or she may be the parent that's soliciting for the child. So you got those two extremes, and you got something in the middle, right? And then you got the friend of the family that came just being a friend of the family, probably needed some shelter for a season or or whatever, wasn't trying to, you know, fuck somebody's little daughter, you understand me?
Yeah.
But he got the delinquent teenager and he got manipulated, in which somehow he can't get manipulated, obviously. That's why.
Yeah, that's not allowed somehow, but
yeah. So he claims to have been manipulated, you know, and then you got those that stand firm and then say, yeah, you know, you need to get your child some help. You know, they tried to come on, you know, or I'm removing myself. This shit is hostile. This is dangerous. Y'all trying to get me in trouble. You know what I mean? So these are some of the layers. I just wanted to get the layers so the conversation doesn't sound like anybody's blaming anybody or siding with, you know, what can be considered predators or violators. You see what I'm saying?
No. See, here's the thing. Like, I think there is a difference between predators, but we focus in on the children, right? But the predator the predator mindset is a predator mindset. Like, I've seen dudes who are considered players or just ladies' men, right? Mm-hmm. But when you get into the psychology of them, they're predators. Like, they fucking hone in on, oh man, she got low self-esteem, man, I'm about to be in them draws and give me 2 minutes with her and I'm gonna get this number and I'm gonna have her tonight. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's still preying, and it don't matter how old that woman is, right? I've seen women like 40 get preyed on, like, you know, I can just tell by the way she's looking around the room, like, oh, she got a little tire around her gut, but the body's still nice. Oh yeah, I'm a hit. You know what I'm saying? Like, so you're that's still predator-like behavior. You know what I'm saying? If you're looking at a dude and he was like, oh, okay, I see what he pulled up in, and I see the watch on his arm, and okay, he got all right, I'm about to get something out of him. I didn't fuck for free before. That's being a predator. You're preying on somebody. You know what I'm saying? So even the concept of predator, like, it's a horrible concept, but people are getting preyed on all the time. Like, we have businesses that prey on old people. You know what I'm saying? We got scammers out, like the whole scamming thing that's going on. Like, those are predators. Like, people are preying on people's weaknesses, right, or emotional, whatever. They're preying on something that they can get a hold or an edge on, and they're going for the kill. Okay. Now I've literally, my homeboy told me a story about his friend who was a teacher, right? He teaching, and the chick, she's feeling the dude, right? Dude, clearly handsome, you know, like, works out, whatever. He's not like old. He might be, you know, middle 30s, you know. And the chick straight tells him, like, yo, like, I'm gonna fuck you. That's what she tells the teacher. Like, you gonna get this pussy. Like, and the teacher's like, yo, no. So he went and he had to go straight to his fucking the principal and the superintendent. And it was like, yo, get me the fuck out this school. Like, either get her out of my classroom, get the hell out of here, or get me the hell out of here, because I'm not about to go down for that shit. You know what I'm saying? So that's that instance when somebody said, like, you know better. You know what I'm saying? But that, and then they called the girl's mom into the school, and she was like, what? And she was like, yeah, I said it, and it's still gonna happen. Like, that was the quote unquote the delinquent girl, right?
Yeah.
Or a young lady. But that can go the opposite way, in which I've heard people say, like, yo, like, she pretty much said, like, if I don't do it, then she's gonna say I did it anyway. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like, or they had an encounter or something where it was some touchy and some kissing, and then it's like, oh, how old are you? Oh, I'm 15. And it's like, oh, I can't fuck with you. Oh, you gonna keep fucking with me. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's not every situation, but it's just another example where how did you get manipulated? Like, it's like, damn, I'm in this now. Why do how do I get out of it?
Okay, well, let's give a couple categories so those won't get confused. So you have the obvious pedophile.
Obvious,
you know,
that's what he likes.
It doesn't have to be a teenager. They are attracted to children. I'm almost certain that's the definition. Yeah. And then you got a molester, you know what I'm saying, a sexual criminal, and I think again anybody can get the violation. And then you got like the statutory rapist, which is consciously dating underage, or, you know, believe that.
You said consciously?
That's what I said, or believes that, you know, they're dealing with someone that's at least 18.
Right, yeah,
Right.
somebody who's of age and I've heard that and I've seen like case files on that where the people have literally like, I show my ID to get into this place. Right? I
Yeah.
show my ID to get into this club. I'm assuming that everybody in this place
Yeah. Yeah.
is of age, can drink. When I met this girl, she was drinking. She was in this place where I had to show my ID.
Yeah.
And now,
And then of
yeah,
these three, you have predators, which would be
yes,
people that are actively seeking. They don't just have an attraction to children that they're trying to contain and make an adjustment. They're feeding into it and they're actively pursuing and preying on
yeah,
children. Same
setting
thing.
traps
Yeah.
and and and
Molesters,
those,
same thing.
yeah.
And then the statutory rapists. Aside from this, the criminals side, I'm just saying that those cats that like dating right on the cusp at the 18, let's just say, and then obviously that teeters because you kind of got to be around high schools to meet 18-year-olds or you know what I'm
Right,
saying?
and see, that's when you get into your predator nature. Like where do you meeting these people at? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, how are you getting in contact with them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so with that R. Kelly situation, the fact that they're talking about this dude, make sure he stopped by the mall, you know, maybe he stopped by schools and stuff like that's real predator behavior. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That's where the sicko mode of it comes from. Like, okay, like,
yeah, I mean, the porn industry operated in a similar fashion.
Of course,
that they actually used to be out there saying, you 18, you 18, you 18. Like, this is like known stories that would be, you know, to recruit that breed of black teenage porn stars that had that wave a couple decades ago. That was how they were getting them. It's like literally like, you want to make some money? Like, if you 18, call this number. You feel me? Again, that was under the guise of business, and that was a business transaction, obviously, but it still had the deliberate
same predatory nature. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like I said, it's all blurry because that's the same thing. Like now we can't even talk in front of our phone without the ad popping up on our social media. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you're getting preyed on. But those categories are there, and like I said, people are like, I think like I've seen people. I've heard women talk about dating dudes, and the dudes are like too eager to meet the children. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, yo, like I'm never trying to meet the kids. Like, nothing against your kids, but they have a daddy somewhere, and I ain't it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm fucking with you. Me and you are adults. That's what I'm trying to deal with.
Yeah.
I acknowledge that you have children, right? And so my acknowledgement of your children is that you don't have as much time for me as I might want. You know what I'm saying? Because you have other responsibilities. That's as far as children go with me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't leave your kid in the room with me. Don't, none of that. Just don't do it.
Yeah, I mean, because that's the thing with consent. How is consent even taught? Because when you deal with growing up and family get-togethers, which is ultimately strangers, depending on how big the family is and how frequently they connect, you'll see a child naturally want to protect themselves by like they don't want to go and hug and kiss these strangers. They want to kind of be on your leg. They want to kind of be under you, but you push them. Oh, that's Aunt Bertha. Like, go give her, you know. And now you got this awkward like kissing stranger violation, private space. Like, what are the rules here now, mommy? Because you're telling me, you know what I'm saying, daddy, you're telling me. You know what I'm saying? That this uncle can get a kiss and this, I can sit with these people. I can, you know, it's like I can go off and play with I can spend the night because these are your cousins. So that's another violation. Incest will come under that as well. You see what I'm saying? So all these variables.
Just older children in general, like that's another thing.
Exactly.
Like, yeah, you're over here, but you're 10 and this person's 15 or 14. And now they're in high school and they've been, or whatever their situation is, now they over here kissing on you or having you kiss something, you know, like
yeah, because that comes under playing, but that's also a lot of people's introduction to the sexual arena is through older, you know, friends,
like games like
older
hide
cousins.
And go get it and house. We're gonna play house, and you're gonna be the husband, I'm gonna be the mother. So it's all what we do, you know.
Yeah, but I think that's also because those institutions that had existed in previous generations and cultures where like you acknowledge the sex drive of young people. You didn't act like, oh, you have no sex drive until you're 18.
Yeah. And I also think that's why people were getting married off, like, because they acknowledged that it was happening. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is natural.
Yeah, I mean, but that was obviously abused, and that's why that has been frowned upon. Like, because
I'm not talking about
buying child brides is still a violation that's going on.
I agree with that. I'm thinking more about like the fact that young women were marrying at 15 and 16. Not so much.
But were they marrying 15 and 16-year-olds, or were they marrying, a 40-year-old?
Yeah, I don't.
Do you see what I'm saying? Like true. That's where the violation.
I already know it was probably around like 24-year-olds or something.
Yeah, because
they want the guys to be stable.
Viral. Yeah, exactly. So I'm just saying, if me and you have a crush and we're in like one of these ancient villages that you speak of, hypothetically. And now it's time for me to get married, but you're not of age, or that you're not the one that was chosen. My family chose someone else. Now this is a forced situation, even though you acknowledging my sexual evolution. You acknowledging that I'm of age, but you're not acknowledging my choice, which is I like this guy. You know what I'm saying? Like you marry me off to somebody else for some political reasons is a violation as well. But I wanted to get with some of the causes behind it as well, just loosely. I mean, like I said, obviously this is something that continues to be unpacked until it's corrected. But I think religions. Well, let me say this. I think that sex itself needs to be freed. Okay. To take the conversation off of underage people, like sex itself is somehow continuously perverted by this dominant culture. Would you agree with that?
No, I agree with that. It's just a lot of everything kind of hinges around and flirts around with sex. Like,
like who has a healthy sexual upbringing within within this dominant culture system? Do you understand what I'm saying? Right. Who actually, and they exist. I've met a few people that you're like, damn, okay, like your parents did that, damn, they was on it, like you, okay, like they supported the sexual evolution of their children. You see what I'm saying? Like that they responded to it with support versus, don't you worry about that, you hit the books. You know what I'm saying? Which is like fictitious, like how I'm gonna hit the books with this raging hard on like type of thing, right? So, like how is it that these violations, whether it's whatever sex crimes by whoever continuously happen, seem to be growing in number, or at least is getting more exposure to how prominent it is, and there's still like a shackling of sex in general. Like there's just you're not supposed to do this, but here's a fuck scene. You know, don't you worry about that. You know what I'm saying? Here's a rape scene.
No, it's contradictions. It's all contradictions. It's like sexuality is suppressed and you're made to feel ashamed of it. And, then people who have kinks can't get their kinks off, right? Which turns into you're hiding it, it's suppression. And then I think that leads to that more deviant behavior, more sneaky behavior, more, behavior. Whereas if you can just say like, this is what I like and this is what I'm going to do and this is who I am, which is what I thought part of the feminist movement had in it, which is like sexual freedom. And then, but somehow there's still a repression with that, like where, you tell people, you hear all the time, like, oh, as a woman, I can't have a body count because dudes still look at me like crazy, like I'm crazy or like I'm less than and stuff. And dudes still can't get off whatever they got in their sexual bag because, there's still this stigma like, oh, that's gay, man. It's like, it's none of my business. Like, if you like a finger in your booty, I don't care. Like, cool, get it off. Like, let your partner know instead of you having to sneak around to, some after hours spot to get that off. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And that goes back to that capitalism, like, being, us being inculcated with that because if there was freedom of sexual expression, whatever that would look like, you know, and obviously there should be some there should be structure, but restriction, right? I mean, consent should be that, you know, so that goes back to the conversation. When are you actually able to give consent, right? But there should be, it should be consensual sexual freedom. And you'll see cats, not having that freedom and therefore having to buy it. You see what I'm saying? Like you have to buy something that you should be able to share freely with a loved one. You see what I mean? So capitalism yet again is in there. Somebody can get over on your kink, can get over on your preference, can get over on, you know, on you trying to express your sexual self, but you can't somehow do that within the confines of your relationship.
No, that's definitely true.
And that leads me to the perversion of sex in general by religions. Like religion seems to have just, it's almost in an effort to control the participant. It's like you know how necessary sex is as an institution. You recognize that as if you can make that, if you can twist the knife, you know what I'm saying, right here, it's something that people ultimately, for the most part, don't seem to have like control over and say, well, you can be a better, you know, blank, whatever religion, if you actually master this, like master the unmasterable. Like, you know, it's like learn how to levitate to show me that you're a good Christian type shit. You see what I'm saying? It might as well be that. So here you are now, you trying not because you think this is not what God wants. I can't. And then it turns you into this, clearly a monster. You know what I'm saying? Like that to me, it has to be a percentage of people that's been, their sexual view has been perverted by their religious belief. It has to be a high percentage.
I don't know. I know people who, when they get fully in their bag, it's like, yo, okay, I see you. Like, this is you all the way. And then it'd be like, right after the sexual act or the next day, it's all guilt.
Yeah, the shame.
Shame. And it's like, oh, that's not me. And it's like, yeah, that was definitely you. I saw you. Like, you wowed me out. Like, okay, you know, but it's still this hang up. Like, you know, it's very bad. The other thing I wanted to talk about though, real quick, the power aspect. I think that's what really, is an issue with these situations as well, right? The power and the control over somebody. You know what I'm saying? So we talked about consent. But like capitalism, like money is power. You know what I'm saying? And so in these situations, you talk about, these adult figures. One of the reasons why it's such a violation is because they're placed in a position of authority over this person. You know, that's one of the big definitions of like, how can somebody give consent if you have control over them? So if it's an officer with an inmate or somebody in their custody, you cannot give consent because they have control over you. You know what I'm saying? Same thing with the teacher-student relationship. Even if that high school person was 18, right? They were in 12th grade, they were 18. That teacher cannot still have a sexual act with this adult, right? Because they have power over them. You know what I'm saying? And so that's what goes into the child part of it too. It's like the control, and people don't really like to talk about it as much, but money is control, you know, especially depending on what type of situation you came from. You know what I'm saying? So if you come from an impoverished area or, you know, city or town, and somebody is like, oh yeah, I'm gonna take care of the entire family, I'm taking care of you, you're good, and you're already curious, or you know, then that's a leverage, that's control over you. You know what I'm saying? Giving something to somebody and then threatening to take it away from them is control. You know what I'm saying? And power over somebody. And we experience this with parents, like, well, you're not gonna play your video game if you don't do your chores, or you know what I'm saying, or you're not gonna, whatever you like, I control that, then you're not gonna get it unless you obey me. You know what I'm saying? So the power aspect has a lot to do with rape and molestation as well. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things that we see, and that's part of that predator behavior is getting the edge over somebody. You know, to be able to exert control and power over the person.
Yeah, and I also think that's part of the arousal.
Yeah,
is that you do exercise power. Whereas you catch a grown woman, like you throwing your best stroke, and she like, "What's that?" Like, work harder.
Yeah.
You feel me? So you want somebody to be timid and afraid, and you know what I'm saying? I almost think that is one of the major motivational. It's so much emphasis. I remember growing up amongst cats, and it was such an emphasis on virginity. Like it was like. And I think that as you get older, obviously experienced women don't respond the same to sex. So if you actually got addicted to the response that teenagers have to sex, then that may be a motivation to revisit that. You know what I'm saying? Regardless of the ethical, the ethics involved or the violation of ethics. You see what I'm saying? It's like they actually... Everything is new and exciting. There's fear, there's passion, there's this blend of beauty. You know what I'm saying? As a teenager with a teenager. Yeah. And I'm wondering if these cats are trying to chase that high. You know what I'm saying? Trying to come back to, you know what I'm saying, where their penis actually had an impact. Whereas obviously when you deal with grown women, you know what I'm saying, like you can be in for anything. It's no, you know, it's like either she'll work with you or she'll laugh at you. You see what I'm saying? Like, depending on what you're working with. Same thing with the response. Maybe she'll be bored with your best move, you know what I'm saying? Or she'll think the world of you, you know? So, I don't know. And that's another thing. I don't personally know any confessed sexual violators and or predators. I think that's very interesting because the dude will tell you everything about himself other than this. Like, yeah, I like children. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, I think that's interesting. All the snitching and ratting that these dudes do in their criminal life, somehow the sex criminal got the most discipline. You know what I'm saying? That I can think of with any criminal. Like, I've never had a cat slip up and be like, yeah, I'm about to go, you know, I got a little stepdaughter at the house, man. I'm about to cut out early. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, you don't hear that. And then it's happening. You see what I'm saying? So that's going to be hard to really, like, where does this start? Like, again, if it's a complicated situation, aside from just, straight up, I tie you up and fucking rape you. You know what I'm saying? I pin you down. I beat you. I threaten you with a weapon. I threaten you with violence. You see what I'm saying? These obvious cases of rape versus the seduction, which dudes kind of pride themselves. Everybody wishes they were a pimp subconsciously, unfortunately, for some reason. So you got this like, oh, I'm a macker out of this. And even if it's a younger woman, a teenage girl, that it's the rules still apply. Like I want to get in her head, you know what I'm saying, to get into her panties type of thing. So what I'm saying is like, how is this prevented? If you got again, we got to try and dice it up. I mean, a violation is a violation. I'm aware. Yes. But if we try and actually get to how to root it out, we have to acknowledge that there are variations to this violation, right? So for the child that's handling their business, minding their business, that gets approached, you know what I'm saying, in a household or outside the house, right? It seems like that particular child hopefully has a line of communication to an adult that they can communicate, you know, the initial breach of inappropriateness with somebody. Right. You see what I'm saying? So that exists. The great child who may think that they're old enough or grown enough, or I'm just, you know, whatever, I'm just teasing them. That old bullshit. They should still, it seems like they should still be able to communicate that, yo, this guy, I think he kind of came at me, you know, wrong. But now we come with the delinquent who is actually trying to work on sexual witchcraft, whether it's the homeboy trying to flirt with your moms, because this dude exists. You know what I'm saying? He's trying to, he been off his weight gain and, you know what I'm saying, trying out for varsity or whatever. And now he thinks like, that's your auntie? Like, okay. Like, shit, I think she digging me. And he positions himself, right? He will become under the delinquent class of wanting to be, in something sexual. So he's thinking as consensual as does the female delinquent teenager. Like, she's like, shit, I'm trying to woo y'all too young. Y'all can't even work the dick. Y'all can't work the middle. Woo woo woo. Like, it's this braggadocious approach to dealing with people. You see what I'm saying? So obviously that gray area, who do they tell or how do we rate them? He's like, if they're out here actively trying to fuck people's aunties and older cousins and all this old and this behavior, and then she's actively trying to get fake IDs or sneaking her mom's ID, trying to get in, whatever, like positioning themselves to be in predatory environments or in what I guess they would consider themselves in consensual sexual environments, right? Because they believe they're mature enough to handle, sex with older people. I don't know if we should be grouping them with the other two people that are more or less trying to be teenagers.
I mean, that's a hard one to do. I also, like, when you say that, like I said, like, there are, those categories exist. And so, like, one of the things that I didn't get a chance to touch on was, like, we did touch on it a little bit, like a dude who thinks that a girl who is of age, right? Mm-hmm. And he finds out, or that she's 15. So if a dude comes out, you come out of somebody who's inappropriate, right? This dude is muscle bound, but he's only 16, but like you say, he's fresh off the dips and he'd been working out. He did Hell Week, this summer. So he came back with all the cuts, then if he's like, oh, I'm 16, then that would be the, oh shit, my bad, and keep it moving. Same thing with the chick. Like, she's got the hips, the ass. She's just a younger version of her mama, and she's fine as hell, and you shoot your shot, and she was like, oh, I'm 16, I'm 15 years old. Sorry.
But I've heard that's an excuse that you can always tell when somebody's younger.
I don't subscribe to that. I've heard women tell me that more than anything, though. That's an excuse. No, I've literally seen somebody, I've literally seen 3 generations of women together, and I could barely tell a difference, between them, right? I just knew because they were stair-step, kind of like, oh, okay, that's the youngest one. I don't know how old she is, but I'm just going to assume because this grandmama looked this old. You know what I'm saying? Like, this young, that she's young. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that you always know, because that's why I go back to when you talk about maturity. Like, I've met grown women that I think are teenagers based off of how they act. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And then we have, especially in the Black community, black don't crack. So it's like, people will be looking ageless. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, people be looking the same between the ages of 20 and 45. You know what I'm saying? Like, what? Like, so I don't know if that's like a true statement. Like, that you can always tell. I know. And then we used to be able to tell more. At least I used to be able to, because we were dressed in a childlike way, or like we was dressed in a way that kind of signal I'm a teenager or I'm a child. And now I see little girls wearing leggings and shorts and just stuff that like is very sexualized on a girl child. You know what I'm saying? That's like, why are you got her wearing that? Why is she wearing makeup in elementary school like that? You know what I'm saying? Like full blown makeup, not even just like a little, lipstick and an eyelash. Like, it's like, oh, full on.
I mean, but that's where it goes back to,
what, the parenting or what?
I mean, it goes back to the conversation about consent. Like, even if she's presenting these things as an older person, even if he's presenting himself as an older person, does it fall on the adult to say, okay, this will not be consensual regardless of what you're doing and how you're doing it? You see what I'm saying? Like, I'm
but
going
that also
to.
has to go with the maturity of the adult, and that's what's laughable about things. Like, what the difference between a 17-year-old whose birthday is in a week and the 18-year-old whose birthday just passed a week ago is the difference between a prison sentence and you being a violator. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But do you think that they magically matured in that week period? Hell, fucking no.
I mean,
You know what I'm saying?
it ultimately boils down to objectifying people, reducing them to just a sexual object, something that should be used for your sexual pleasure only. And that's what I don't think people really understand. They always associate, oh, well, this person is violated because she dressed a certain way, or this person was violated because they had hips or muscles. Where if you're an objectifier and you just see a warm body, it doesn't matter. Like, that's why it don't matter what hole, it don't matter what. It's like, aside from the power dynamic, right, where you having power over and that addiction to that arrangement, there's also just I don't want to masturbate, so I'm gonna use shit around me, and that could be anybody, male, female, old or young. You see what I'm saying? And that is something that I don't think is being addressed by the dominant culture, but something definitely we need to be reconstructing and making sense, because this violation is impacting our adult relationships. You know what I'm saying? With people. Like, if you got a history of being violated, male or female, more than likely you did not get counseling for that trauma. And now you're trying to act like it's all good. We just gotta, our birth signs just gotta line up. It's like, nah, you fucked up in the head. And it's and it's for good reason. That's not the problem. We just need to be honest with ourselves and get treatment. So the violations are not just something that happened in people's past. It's something that affects us all continuously. You see what I'm saying? I'm wondering what percentage of that is why you see so many dysfunctional black relationships. You see what I'm saying? Like, what percentage of that is just from the last time I trusted somebody or the first time I trusted somebody? You see what I'm saying? Like, and we didn't even get into like just straight up trafficking. The idea that you're going to take somebody's trust and then, kidnap them and put them up in a hotel fucking without clothes and just send Johns in. Like, it's crazy manipulations on young people.
No, it definitely is. I mean, that's we don't even have time for all that. I just, like I said, I think one of my biggest things is like, teaching the people. Like, I think the more that you're taught, the more that you know, the more mature you become and the more able you are to make those decisions. The consent thing definitely is something that it's been being pushed and it needs to keep being pushed. Like, I wanted to go into rape culture, but that's this. Cause this is another problem.
I mean, go into it. I mean, what you got?
It's rape culture. Like, rape culture in itself is another problem, and
some would say is the problem, right?
It is the problem, and everybody's participating in it. Like, it's just everybody's participating in it. Like, I asked the woman, hey, what does it mean when you ask a guy to give him a massage? Oh, you know what it is. You right? So, and when I ask guys, oh, I'm fucking if I give a girl a massage, right? So it's like, but what if she really just wanted the massage and now you dick slipping her, right? But both parties are playing into it. Like, cause it's like, oh, it's this game of, oh, I'm being flirtatious and it's this, level of sexiness, but like, it's too blurry. You know what I'm saying? It's too gray. Like, it's not cool on either side. And then especially when you're going to hit somebody off with, oh, you should have known. I didn't say I wanted it, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, so rape culture in itself is a big part of this, shit, if it bleeds, you can fuck it. Like, what? Whoa, wait a minute. Like, it gets wet, don't it? Like, oh, no. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, hold on. Like,
if it's old enough to pee, it's old enough for me is one that I heard.
Ooh, yeah, like that. Those are some real
or
like
if
bad statements.
she not it, if she's old
Yeah.
enough to be, yeah.
Yeah. Well, now it's the same.
Well, I mean,
You know.
to frame it loosely around the R. Kelly situation, because I haven't watched the documentary.
Yeah, I didn't want to watch it.
the-
I just heard so much about it.
but the news that has been being told loosely about him for over a decade, and others like him, I think that is why the conversation should be had on a serious, like on an individual basis, and conversation you should have with yourself, like you get information, process things, kind of try and weed out and be open to new information about rape culture, be open to information about what you may think is normal actually not being normal, that may actually be perverse. You feel me? Like there's a lot that I grew up around. You know, whether it was, we running trains on these girls, all that, you know, in hindsight, it was like, how much of that was consensual? Because she may have liked you, the individual, you know what I'm saying? But having your homeboy come out the closet, that's rape. You see what I'm saying? But that was like, these are things that you would hear bouncing around campus. So not only are like older people preying on younger people, but, you know,
younger people
are preying on each other. You know, your peer group is out trying to figure out how to have this sexual experience with you. And it's not healthy. It's not connected with a relationship necessarily.
And you still got, and then like you said earlier with the whole like religion kind of suppressing sexuality and itself not being free. Like I've talked to people, and when they have a chance to be themselves and be free, you hear a lot of kinks. Like you'll get the like, I do want to have, I want to have 2-3 dudes. I want to fuck them. I want to feel what that feels like, right? But if that just gets exposed in like, let's say a college setting that you did that, then it's like, now you over here thinking like, oh man, did I get raped or did I want that? Like, it's just like, alcohol is one of those big things that, I have an issue with. Like, you know, the consent with alcohol. Like, you know, like, and then we just didn't even touch on media itself. Like, if you look at the Disney Channel, right? Or Nickelodeon, right? Like, those are, you're dealing with little kids and they're still like, their main focus is love and a boyfriend and a girlfriend. You know what I'm saying? From childhood that's being pushed on them. If you look at every like, coming of age story on the big screen, right? It's always just like, yo, I'm trying to fuck, I'm trying to lose my virginity, we're trying to have the biggest fucking party to end our year or school year off with, or to begin our high school career, and we just go get beer kegs, let's rate like,
look
so
at
everything.
prom. I mean, prom itself, where now these people are overly dressing up their children today, in essence, that you know is going to end in a night of sex. And not everybody that goes to prom is 18.
Is of age. No, most of them not. Like, most of them not turning 18 or to that summer or something. And then who's going to prom? 7th and 8th grade? Like juniors and seniors. So you got people anywhere between 16, 17 going to the prom, you know, and then you can go. So yeah, it's like, so even the media is like, it sexualizes, like when I look at stuff, it sexualizes a lot of things. And it gets that on a child's mind. So even if you think that this child isn't even really sexually active and they're trying to stay in their lane, like almost everything that they see in social media and TV is showing that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
at this point, I mean, their sex ed is pornography. That's just sitting on their phone.
It's on the phone. Like, and it's on Instagram, it's on the Facebook. It's just like, it's everywhere. So yeah, it's very hard to say like, oh, okay, like what's happening? Like, why is this person over sexualized? Like it used to be able to point at like, damn, that kid over sexualized, and like they might have been touched or they might have had a sexual encounter they shouldn't have had. Now it's like, yo, like, fuck, I don't even know, like, we talked about...
They like anime. Toys. They over-sexualize because they like anime.
Yeah, because there's adult anime, you know, and now that's pornographic, and anime in itself has what they call fan service in it, where they just automatically linger on the cartoon character's oversized breast, and you know what I'm saying. So it's like it's mad sexualized. Even the characters how they're drawn. Like I'm a comic book head, Marvel, but man, those characters are built like men and female. Like the dudes have the most muscles. The women are stacked beyond like just everything you can want. Like so, it's like everything's heavily sexualized, and it's like that curiosity is going to be there at a younger age because they're exposed to it at a younger age as well.
Yeah, I mean that's why it has to be real conversation. It's not not necessarily for the dominant culture. That'd be nice for them to get on board, but for households, neighborhoods, and communities, like we have to be aware that this is like multi-layered. Like this is not no easy fix. Like, oh, all you got to do is, keep the boogeyman away from the house. You see what I'm saying? Like,
right.
Because you may have the delinquent teenager, you know what I'm saying, that's finding ways to get into trouble. You know what I'm saying? Finding ways to get violated, finding a way to have sex in her or his mind, consensual until trouble comes. And then it's like, oh, he raped me. You feel me? Because you don't want to get in trouble. Or pregnancies that lead to like, false allegations. You know what I'm saying? Or,
and that goes back to that to me, that prolonged adolescence that you're doing adult things without adult consequences. And I'll touch on a story from probably a few years back, like maybe 4 or 5 years back, right? A guy who was clearly just, he needed to be somewhere else because he's a drug dealer. He's selling, whatever drug you could think of, he's selling it out of a hotel room, right? And he gets busted. I want to say that it was like in Union City, gets busted for, sleeping with underage girls, right? Mm-hmm. Because he's trading sexual favors for whatever drugs they wanted. But I felt like, yeah, cool, you got this dude, great, right? He was selling drugs, he was doing everything under the sun. But what wasn't addressed was why these 14, 15-year-old girls was coming down from Palmetto to this motel in Union City, and why it was a known that this dude was there, and they was willing to trade sexual favors. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like nobody addressed that part of it, that you were actively prostituting yourself out. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like this dude didn't force you to do it. You know what I'm saying? You came down looking for drugs and doing this stuff, and where is that coming from? Like, why are we not addressing that? We're not addressing that if the age of consent is 16 in Georgia or it's 18, then really nobody should be fucking. Mm-hmm. Nobody should be having sex. But are we gonna like prosecute the 15-year-olds, the two 15-year-olds for having sex together? No, they're not getting prosecuted for that. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, so clearly the legal system is not making the adjustment because those fears are on books and are known. Even nothing is stopping people from murdering each other, let alone raping or having a statutory case brought against them. Like that's clearly not a deterrent. Clearly that you know what I'm saying. Like, but I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, it was just interesting to me is that like that other party. We're not addressing the other party.
Yeah, right? That's what I'm saying. Like the shift in values has to happen. Like, and that's why I spoke on, with oneself and then their family, their neighborhood, their community. Like it has to start small to where at least on this block, nobody was violated. At least in this house, nobody was violated. You see what I'm saying? Right. Like it has to start. And well, what did you do? Okay. How did you have that conversation with your teenager regarding, his views on sex, and how did you help help develop them? Like how what techniques did you use to try and bring forth a healthy sexual expression instead of believing that you're going to have no sexual expression until you get married or until you turn 18? You see what I'm saying? Because there's a lot of fallacy with parents. Even like they just want to forget that they was having sex at 13 and 14.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? 16 and 17 and
that's what I say, like, come on. Like, and that's why I wonder if even with the values we have, these are new values, and did we get it right though?
I mean, these values we didn't even shape these values. That's what I'm saying. Because when you look at like Mormon culture, for instance, and they're still practicing, polygamy, I believe that's their community. They just handled they handled their business to where they govern themselves. You see what I'm saying? But they're, I think recently they just started getting arrested for bigamy or something. But for years, they were following their religious code. You know what I'm saying? And their code said, this is what we do. And child brides were a part of that code. You see what I'm saying? Like, and then again, I'm not saying that that's right or wrong. I'm just showing that this is what it looks like if we're going to move with correcting a problem, that it can't be limited to what the laws say. If we know that black girl children are just, I mean, it's wide open for them to get violated. And then the boys that get violated, they're invisible. They don't even know they're getting violated. Ain't nobody checking for them at all. So everybody's getting violated, it seems, by whoever. However, if you mix in cats coming, the recidivism, cats coming home from prison and recycling back, and and then if you deal with, again, like your low level pimps that that sit on the stoop while you at work, again, you can have the child that's just trying to be a student, but I mean, you got an adult that's chipping away. You know what I'm saying? And manipulation is real. So it's like all of these layers need to be sorted, and then you got, again, we mentioned where the child that may be looking and flirting with that, or wanting that, because that love for the streets don't start at, oh, you 21 and now you get out here in these streets. No, it's usually teenagers running them streets that turn 21 eventually. You see what I'm saying? Like, so you had a love for the excitement of the streets and yada, yada. And again, we need to know how to address that in-house, with the violators or potential violators. And then we also need to know how to protect ourselves, outside, you know what I'm saying? So this becomes again a conversation about self-defense as well, and then what happens when we're starstruck, when the whole house, like, to go back to the R. Kelly allegations, where clearly the parents were like, oh shit, that's R. Kelly. How is a teenage, are going to do any better? You know what I'm saying? If the mom's is like, oh my God, oh really? And like, how's she gonna withstand that? You see what I'm saying? So it's like, who knows, between fame, between manipulation, between loneliness, between perversions, between flirting and all these other things, like we have to start chipping away at it. You see what I'm saying? Like, it has to be chipped away. It can't just be like what a law says. And then it takes a documentary for people to get excited to do something, and then not even do nothing in their own households. It just gets excited to want to blog about some famous dude who don't give a fuck what you think. Like, clearly.
At all. Still just chilling. Yeah,
but we're going to have to revisit this because it's so many layers. I think, again, I would put all this under rape culture, but that definitely needs to be fleshed out. And then it needs to be talked about in these layers, because if you just say, all of these men, they fucked up and men fuck men, then it's what about all the men that don't, violate, that actually want healthy households, that actually want healthy communities? You know what I'm saying? Like, we need voice too.